Good morning, guys. How are we? Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Wednesday, September the 25th, 2024, and you can probably tell behind me, not great weather today. It's been raining. I've just caught a little bit of a break in proceedings. Myself and Neil especially Neil, are soaked. He refused to get under the umbrella with me, so but yeah, I've got a little bit of a break in action, so I thought I'll jump on quickly. But I just thought I'd run through a few of the bit of the news cycle today, rather than a particular topic, and some of the things that are on the different sites. And the one thing I did see, which was great, the undercard for Tszyu and Murtizaliev is starting to take shape, and one telling fight on that one is Tszyu, which is great. So Tszyu is 17-0 with 10 KOs. He's fighting someone that's going to be very familiar to us here in Australia. Tszyu, 16-1, 13 KOs. Now you'll remember him from a no limit card. Was it earlier? It must have been earlier this year, where he stopped Isaac Harbin. So a very, very good test for Tszyu, and he's certainly making waves over there, isn't he? He sort of is flying under the radar a little bit here in Australia because he's a Mexican heritage. He was born in Mexico, but of course has made Australia his home. He did go back to, was it Mexico, or at least went back to the States, if not Mexico as well, to start to pursue his career, or to further his career over there under the tutelage of Mike Altamura, and now he's back under the No Limit banner. So, look, fantastic opportunity for him. There'll be a lot of eyes on the event, of course, and he's got all the ability in the world, but Tszyu will be tough. I think. And I love Isaac Harbin, and by the way, I hope he does come back soon. I think he'll be a big loss to Australian boxing if he doesn't come back and maybe goes back to MMA. So let's hope Isaac comes back. But with Tszyu, again, all due respect to Isaac, and he's one of my favourite Aussie fighters, but I think Tszyu is a level or two above Isaac and is really legitimately world class. So I would think that Tszyu does get the job done. I think Tszyu might have been made to look a little bit better than what he was by Isaac, who just probably struggled a little bit with that real increase in class. Now, I know Isaac had been in the ring with Michael Zarafa before that, but it went a round and a half, whatever it did, so really didn't get a hell of a lot out of that. And I think, as I said, I think Tszyu will probably make Tszyu maybe not quite look as good as what Isaac Harbin did, and I think Tszyu wins that fight, I think, quite comfortably. I think Tszyu, look, he's tough, but look, Isaac definitely had his moments against him. I thought did really well in the middle rounds. Just the inexperience, I thought, and maybe gassed out a little bit. Maybe his fight plan wasn't the best with a guy as experienced as Tszyu. And as I said, I think Tszyu does get the job done pretty comfortably over Tszyu. But a great opportunity for him. It will be a real good test, don't get me wrong. Tszyu will give him a really good test, but I think on the big stage over there, on a big card, I think Tszyu gets the job done. And who knows what happens after that. I have spoken on here a few times about, maybe would he fight a Michael Zarafa, maybe Mikhailovich if he gets through the fight on the 5th of October against Janabek. So there's a few good possibilities there for Tszyu, and more importantly, some really good fights there for us Aussies to see over the next sort of year or two. The other fight on the undercard, I wasn't really quite sure a lot about those guys. It's Cuban super welterweight, so 154. So a Cuban, what's his name? Yones Tellez. So 8-0, 6 KOs. He's coming up, Jake Paul protege. His name is Johan Gonzalez. Now he's 35-3. 34 knockouts though, so obviously he can punch. So look, that's just starting to take shape. I'm not sure there's any other, so there's no more. So what's that, October 19th that fight is, so it'll be the 20th here in Australia. Look, end of the day, I suppose all we really care about is the main man himself, Tszyu, getting that belt. But it's as I said, it's starting to take shape, and it's going to be an interesting one with Tim. I'm really intrigued to see what version of Tim comes out. Now, do we get the... Mate, look, there's probably a couple of ways it could go, and I think I'll explain what way I think it will go, but there's probably a couple of ways. Maybe Tim could come out a little bit tentative. He could come out maybe a little bit, no, I won't say gun shy, but just a little bit cautious against Murtizaliev. And don't forget, Murtizaliev is a very, very tough guy. So does Tim come out and, as I said, be nice and cautious, a little bit more cautious than usual because of what happened in Las Vegas? Does he come out and want to really make a statement? So does he come out guns blazing? Or do we get a little bit of both? Look, I think we're going to get a really controlled performance. I don't think we're going to see much psychological damage from Tim at all. Let's face it, it's not like he was really knocked around and stopped or anything like that. It was just a cut. He just couldn't see. He was inhibited for the whole fight. So I think we're going to see the same old Tim we've seen, but I've got a feeling we're actually going to see a slightly improved Tim. Now, the reason I say that, and I know that's probably a little bit strange coming off the loss against Fundora, but I think we're actually going to see a better version of Tim. I think we're going to see someone that's a lot more comfortable with the surroundings. And let's face it, the surroundings of this one aren't going to be as probably intimidating as the bright lights in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. It's in Florida. It's probably going to be a lot smaller arena. But I think we're going to see a Tim Tszyu who's now used to being at the level. He's comfortable at the level. He's comfortable with the level of opponent, and he's even more comfortable on the big stage fighting for belts and everything else. So I think we're going to see a more mature Tim Tszyu, and I think he'll get the job done over Murtizaliev. Now, Murtizaliev is going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. He's a very, very good fighter, but I just don't think he's at the level of some of those other guys out there. And I think it's a really, really good fight for Tim. I mean, the massive bonus is there's a world title belt on the line, which is fantastic because he's going to, if he wins that belt, he's going to be right back amongst it, and those top guys are going to want to fight him, puts him right back into the mix of those massive fights. Because Murtizaliev, look, he's tough, but I think he's still a little limited as far as his overall skills goes. And I think when you come up against someone like Tim Tszyu, you've got to have good skills because he'll just cut you apart. He'll slice and dice and get you out of there. So perfect fight for Tim Tszyu, and I think, as I said, we're going to see a better version of Tim than maybe what we have in the past, simply because he's now at the level and he knows it, and they call it experience. Well, sorry, they don't call it experience for nothing. You have to experience those big fights and the good opponents on the big stage to move forward, and that's what Tim's going to do. The other thing, again, just going through all the news sites, and just, it's not great weather here, by the way. The things I do for you people, I might actually put the umbrella up, I think. Excuse me there. So actually, I might be right. We'll see how we go. Okay, sorry, I'm going to bend and put the umbrella up. But checking the news sites, and you're looking for different things to talk about and little topics and all that sort of stuff, and it's just dominated by Anthony Joshua. Not so much Daniel Dubois, it's Anthony Joshua. Now, I don't think I've seen a guy for a or a fighter, I can't even think of one, to be honest, that he's analysed to the nth degree like Anthony Joshua is. Like when Tyson Fury lost to Alexander Usyk, oh well, great fight. Fury, he gave it his all. Maybe there were some issues with his game plan, but Usyk was fantastic, adjusted, almost got Fury out of there. It was a great fight, and you give both guys their props and their credit, and you move on. I'm just going to take this down, guys, because this is very uncomfortable. I'm going to wing it. But in the case of, well, not just in the case of Fury, but other fighters, like we've seen Canelo lose to Bivol. Now, there wasn't, oh my God, Canelo, did he have issues outside the ring? Is there problems with his trainer? Is there problems in his private life? Did he trip up the stairs on the way to the ring? All these things that we didn't get any of that. It was, well, geez, Canelo maybe, picked the wrong opponent. Bivol fought a great fight. And again, you move on. With Anthony Joshua in the last couple of days, there's been story after story after story. Was it Ben Davidson? Was it his style? Was it his mental state? Was it the venue? Was it the pressure? We haven't really mentioned too much about Daniel Dubois being a young, hungry tiger in there that was looking to take his head off, and maybe Anthony Joshua might just be past it, or maybe not as quite as good as what we thought he was. But all these theories and opinions and all these different things, it's just story after story about AJ. What went wrong? This couldn't possibly happen to AJ. There's got to be outlying sources, and the amount of YouTube channels and podcasts and all that sort of stuff that are sitting around dwelling about what went wrong with Anthony Joshua. And like I said, other fighters in the past, they've lost big fights. There hasn't been this level of scrutiny to say, well, there might be a few different opinions. Of course, we all have them, but it's like everyone analysing this fight to the death about, you know, there's something's got to be wrong, and what happens now and everything else. So it's actually quite amusing. But I just think Anthony Joshua, he might be either past it physically. I think especially mentally he's past it. I just don't think his heart's in it anymore. I think he's made a lot of money, and I just think the psychological psychological results of some of his fights have really just started to take the toll, and I just don't think he has that aura about him anymore from his opponents, but also from himself. I just don't think I think Anthony Joshua is very much a confidence fighter, and I've just got a feeling that what happened against Ruiz and against Usyk has really ruined him mentally, and that's why we're seeing him now just not be that fighter that he was a few years ago. He had that real confidence about him, maybe slightly a little bit of arrogance, whatever it was, but he got the job done, and now he's just not held in that same regard, not just by the people outside the ring, but more importantly by himself, and that is the big factor for me of why he's not what he was. So I've probably had enough to say about Joshua, to be honest. They're talking about Dubois not necessarily wanting the Joshua rematch. He just wants the next big fight. Let's face it, he wants Joshua. He has to have Joshua, because if Usyk and Fury don't fight him next, what other fight is he going to have? Let's face it. And he's not going to get anywhere near the amount of money against anyone. And as I'm saying this, it's coming down. I'm going to end this very, very soon, because I need to get the umbrella back up and get home. But yeah, as I said, lots of things going around from AJ. I'm sure you've all seen it, you've all read it, you've all watched it, whatever. But the other thing I'll finish up on, though, is the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul situation. There has been rumours that the fight will not proceed, and this is due to Mike Tyson not really being, I'm just going to grab Neil here, come here buddy, not really being in the best physical state to take on Jake Paul. Now, this is not surprising to me at all. I've had doubts about this the whole way through. I did probably get a little bit more optimistic when they did have that big press conference. Where was it? New York, I think, wasn't it? And you know, they had all the razzmatazz, and you know, both fighters there, and a big crowd there in attendance as well to see it. And I thought, okay, well, maybe we might have a fight here, but I've just got a feeling as we get closer and closer, don't be surprised if they pull the pin on this. And I've got to say, if I'm being honest, I know I've spoken about this in the past as well, I do hope that this fight actually does get cancelled. I think it's a bad look for boxing. I love Mike Tyson just as much as anyone. It probably was my favourite fighter back in the day. I mean, he was an absolute steamroller. He was just one of those fighters that you get every 3 or 4 generations. He really was. But the fact is, he's 58 years of age. Jake Paul, as limited as he is, and how much I'm just not a fan of Jake Paul. That's another conversation. But the fact of the matter is, he's a big guy, he's a young guy, he has improved slightly over each fight, but understandably he's nowhere near Mike Tyson's pedigree. But the fact is, he's half his age, less than half his age, and he's a big guy, he can punch, and I've just got a feeling we might see, if they fight actually for real, if they actually both go out there and both try and lay hands on each other, I think you might see Tyson good for maybe a minute or two, and then I just think after that it's going to be all downhill for Mike Tyson, and Jake Paul will get him out of there. And it's all good to see these flashy pad routines, but again, I think I've said on previous videos, we haven't seen multiple rounds and multiple length of workout from Mike Tyson. We've just seen little grabs, and I just got a feeling that it's not going to end well for Mike once he tires out. So this way, buddy. So anyway, let's just see what happens there. But at the moment, it's supposed to happen, I think, November 15th in Dallas at the Arlington, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, I think it is. So, but I'm actually going to be there the week after. So I actually contemplated changing my flights to get there, but I'm sort of glad I didn't now, to be honest. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens with that one. But I wouldn't be surprised if that does, in fact, fall over and we don't get the fight. And again, I welcome it. Let Jake Paul fight someone even remotely his size, his age, his ability, because Mike Tyson certainly isn't. I understand that it's a massive event for Netflix and all the guys will make plenty of money, and that's awesome. But we've got to, at some stage, take that out of the equation and look at, the safety of the fighters. And Mike Tyson, who's had a lot of health issues, I just don't like it. I really don't. I think it could not end very well for Mike. But anyway, that is it for today, guys. I probably waffled on a little bit long. I didn't get up to some of the other topics, but we'll try and cover those over the next couple of days. So guys, have a great day. I'm going to go in and get dry and get on with my day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.